besides the acting. And I can go anywhere, but the makeup artist can't get on that plane. The key grip, the electrician, the dry cleaners. They've lost touch. The Hollywood community has lost touch with the blue collar of America. And that's why they think that they don't know. So now, just a few little things more. The parent company of CNN is Time Warner. Now, we know that the media, the fake media, or the very fake media, we know these, all right? Now, I've known for years, I've seen it being manipulated. And I go from all the stations, and they're good people. I respect everyone's living, everyone's point of view. That's what America is about. But I understand when I see the vitriol and the misrepresentation, the continued misrepresentation of certain things, or the exaggerations of certain things, carried to a point that they shouldn't be. And that's what we see happening right now. Even on every media says the first 100 days. Well, he's only been in office 30 some odd days. It's not 100 days. And look what's been accomplished. Look what's been accomplished. And look what the future's going to be. So anyway, I've got to wrap up. I'm going to have to finish this speech tomorrow. But I want to go, because of Mike Pence, in honor of Mike Pence, I would like to mention another son of Indiana. How many know of Red Skelton? Red Skelton, on his TV show, January 14th, 1969, talked about the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you remember that? Some of the youth don't. But I'd like to read what he said, what his teacher said to him about the Pledge of Allegiance, because the kids weren't saying it with any meaning behind it. The last message Ronald Reagan gave to the American people in his farewell speech was the American patriotism, to educate the youth with a new American patriotism. My article, I wrote it in November on Breitbart. Please read it. It's important. And President Trump, during his inauguration address, brought up patriotism. That's what's lacked. The assimilation of immigrants that don't know what America stands for, haven't been taught it, and a youth that hasn't been. So the Pledge of Allegiance, before we all say it. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. And I add, and sanctified by the blood of our most brave. United, that means that we have come all together. States, individual communities that have united into 50 great states, 50 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries yet unified to a common purpose, and that's love of country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands, one nation under God, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some form of retaliation. Justice, the principle or quality of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means boys and girls, it's as much as your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's hear it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as Red Skelton said, good night, and God bless all of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Fox News Channel host of Justice with Judge Jeanine, three-time elected district attorney, former elected county judge, and Emmy Award winner, Judge Jeanine Pirro.
All right. Hello. I am the last person you're going to hear from before the vice president comes here tonight. So I'm going to keep to time tonight. But I picked that song Happy because I love to be happy. But most of the time, I'm not. And I want to tell you why. I want to welcome you to CPAC and the United States of America, where illegals with criminal records in some states have even more rights and protections than American citizens who live here. That's exactly what I said. They're called sanctuary cities. So what's that got to do with CPAC tonight? Everything. It's simple, really. It's about the Constitution, national security, and the first order of government, which is the protection and safety of its citizens. And in Trump parlance, it's called law and order. So, now I know a little about law and order. I spent over 3 decades on the battlefield where the fight between good and evil unfolds every day. I have seen the ugliest side of life and the pain that people go through for no reason. They didn't do anything. They didn't ask for it. They're just going about their day like the rest of us. When all of a sudden, like a thunderbolt, their lives are forever changed by someone who made the decision to victimize them. And never, ever forget, it is the criminal who makes the choice to commit a crime. And so, my job as a prosecutor, an elected judge, and a 3-time elected district attorney, and yes, every time with the conservative endorsement on the conservative line, was to fight for those who never chose to be a part of the criminal justice system in the first place, the ones who never did anything and didn't deserve it. So let's go through the Constitution and a couple of basics. Number 1, our founding fathers made clear in the Constitution that immigration is a matter for the federal government. The federal government. Now, Article 1, Section 8, Subdivision 4 entrusts to the federal legislative branch the power to regulate citizenship. But today, in cities and states across this great nation, progressive mayors are prioritizing the protection of illegal criminals who not only violated our law to come here, but in addition, committed additional crimes while they were here. These mayors are directing that local police under their jurisdiction not share information about these criminal illegals and not assist the feds or ICE when they issue a hold or a detainer warrant so that they can be deported. And as a result, they roam freely among us. It was a sunny day. She was walking along the pier. She was in a place where she had a right to be, with someone that she loved, her dad. He was a criminal, illegal alien in the same vicinity, a place that he had no right whatsoever to be. The courts had ordered him deported at least 5 times, and his conviction for at least 7 felonies made him a career criminal. And as she lay dying on that cold pier from the gunshot wound fired by the man using yet an illegal weapon, who had no right to be there, she begged for her father's help. But there was no help for Kate. All the protections are now in place for her killer. He was 19. He came here illegally, and like so many others his age, he crossed the border from Central America, and he openly admitted, "I'm a gang member." That didn't stop the Obama administration from allowing him into our country. His gang, MS-13. One of the most violent gangs in the world, where initiation ranges from rape to beating someone to death in front of other gang members. He, too, had been ordered out of the country. But in spite of his many convictions, New York City Mayor de Blasio believes he needs protection. And local police, therefore, ignored ICE and the federal request to hold him, at least until they arrived. And today he wanders freely wherever he wants. And as a result, all who come in contact with him risk MS-13 criminal activities. Now, make no mistake, all of us are immigrants, unless you're a Native American. Okay, I'm with you. But I'm not here to talk about immigration laws. I'm here to talk about sanctuary cities that are asylums for criminal illegals. And if you believe in America and conservative values and everything in our Constitution, it is time for you to demand an end to the criminal enclaves that are known as sanctuary cities. The sanctuary apologists argue that holding a criminal illegal for pickup by ICE destroys the relationship between police and the immigrant community. Wrong. If you think that an illegal is going to tell a cop about a crime committed by yet another illegal, you are sadly mistaken. I know. Build that wall. Okay, they're already here. They're already here. Now, Even the illegal who is a victim knows that the illegal criminal who victimized him is protected and has sanctuary. The victim is more afraid of the other illegal with sanctuary than he is of the cops. So what's the point? Now, for all of you who might be interested, Congress has already passed a law. I used it many times. It's called a U visa. We don't need sanctuary cities. If someone is going to cooperate with law enforcement, we give him a U visa. He's protected, his family's protected, his mother, his family, who else? Everybody's protected, right? We don't need to put whole cities at risk. Now, fast forward. President Trump, in his first 30 days, pursuant to his word, signed an executive order prioritizing the deportation of criminal illegals and those ordered deported, as well as those who abuse our money and welfare programs. Not bad. The consequence, if the locals don't cooperate, the president has indicated that they risk federal grant monies that's used in part for law enforcement and child protection. That means there will be fewer cops and less protection in those sanctuary cities to protect American citizens who are subject to being victimized and who are living in these criminal enclaves. And as the left marches and they spew allegations of hatred, and they demonize our president, calling for his impeachment, they're ignorant of the facts and the law, and they don't care about American citizens who are in jeopardy. Folks, there's a big difference between compassion for those who come here to work and those who are a danger to the rest of us. And so, it is time. It is time to take the country back. We started with President Trump and Vice President Pence, but it's time to stop listening to the nonsense that the left is spewing. It is time to protect the law-abiding citizens of this country. And it is time for law and order. President Trump and Vice President Pence understand that the first order of government is the protection of its citizens, and we cannot and we will not allow sanctuaries as innocent Americans become subject to random acts of violence and death by people who shouldn't even be here in the first place. So enough of this benign-sounding sanctuary city hogwash. To all those mayors in New York, in Chicago, and Los Angeles, and D.C. who say they won't retreat as a sanctuary city, I ask, at what point do we stop the violence and the killings? Are you willing to risk it all to protect the illegal who is a criminal? And if so, who is it okay to lose? Who is it okay to risk? Your son? Your daughter? Your mother? You resist deportation of those criminal illegals who have no right to be here, and even worse, and risk the federal money that puts cops on the street to protect American citizens? How dare you? We don't need your sanctimonious condescension as to whether or not we as Americans are kind enough or Christian enough. We are. It is time for us to go back to the America that our founding fathers intended. One that they might actually recognize. And like President Trump, it is time for us to stop being politically correct and start being morally right. Thank you, CPAC. Thank you, Matt Schlapp. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the NRA, Isla, please welcome Chris Cox.
Hey, Ralph Hallow. How's everybody doing? Everybody having a good time? Let me ask you a question. How many of you came to CPAC last year? That's great. Now, how many of you remember what happened 6 days before CPAC started last year? It was February 16th, and American freedom suffered a devastating loss when Justice Scalia unexpectedly passed away. That day, the stakes of the 2016 elections fundamentally changed. This was no longer a fight for the next 4 years. This was going to be a fight for the next 40 years. As you all remember, the Republican primary was still, let's just say, interesting. But we knew Hillary Clinton was either going to win or steal the Democrat nomination. And we knew exactly what Hillary's Supreme Court would look like. For those of us who support the Second Amendment, we knew our gun rights would be gone. Our right to keep and bear arms survived the Supreme Court by just one vote, and he had just passed away. Think about that. The court said we have a right to keep a gun in our homes to protect ourselves if, God forbid, some criminal breaks in and wants to murder us. That's it. That's all they said. But Hillary's view, she said it was a terrible decision, that the Supreme Court was wrong on the Second Amendment. So we decided that freedom could not afford for us to wait. The NRA hasn't backed down from a fight in 146 years, and we sure as hell weren't scared of Hillary Clinton. So we made the earliest endorsement in our history when we endorsed Donald Trump for president in May. You're happy now, but let me tell you, it was a lonely summer. We were criticized, we were ridiculed by the mainstream media, and you know what? We didn't care, and we didn't flinch. We spent more human resources and more financial resources than ever before. We were going door to door and running TV ads when no other group in America was fighting, because NRA members knew the soul of our country was at stake. It wasn't an easy ride, but there were moments last year when you knew we could win. When Hillary turned her back on law enforcement, you knew Americans across this country weren't with her. When she embraced an open borders philosophy that favored sanctuary cities over the rule of law, you knew in your heart it was wrong. And when she said you were all deplorable, and even worse, irredeemable, you thought maybe this time we the people would fight back. And Donald Trump did just that. Sanctuary cities? No thanks. I'll take a wall. Turn our backs on law enforcement? Absolutely not. They deserve our respect and our thanks, just like the brave men and women in the military. And while CNN serenaded Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump's fingers got to talking on Twitter. But for all the moments when you felt like we had a chance, you know what that moment was for me? When I knew we could win? The moment Donald Trump picked Mike Pence to serve as his running mate. I have the honor tonight of introducing and presenting an designated to recognize individuals who have demonstrated courage, strength of character, and backbone in defending conservative values and principles. The award is a flintlock rifle. It's what the mainstream media calls a high-powered weapon of war, so we left it out back. But in reality, it represents the strength of American freedom, and so does this year's award winner. Throughout his life, Mike Pence has stood on faith and stood on principle. He remains grateful for the grace of God, the love and support of his family, and the blessings of liberty that are every American's birthright. That sums up the man, and I can't think of a better recipient of this award. Ladies and gentlemen, the 48th Vice President of the United States and his wife, Karen, Mike Pence.
Hello, CPAC. It is great to be back at the premier gathering of conservatives in the United States of America. You know, this is the 9th time I've had the privilege to address CPAC. Thanks to all of you and the confidence of our new president, this is the first time I'm here as Vice President of the United States of America. Because of all of you, because of your hard work and your support and your prayers, my family and I have the privilege to serve. And more importantly, because of all of you, my friend Donald Trump is the 45th President of the United States of America. You know, the President and I have become good friends. It's the greatest privilege of my life to be Vice President to a leader of such conviction, vision, and courage. Now, some people have remarked that we're a little bit different. You know, I'm a small-town guy, he's big city. I'm Midwest, he's Manhattan Island. He's known for his bigger-than-life personality, his charm, and his charisma, and I'm like, not. You know, as I said at the Republican convention, I guess he was just looking to balance the ticket. But all kidding aside, when President Trump asked me to join him on the ticket, I said yes in a heartbeat. Because you have elected a man for president who never quits, he never backs down, he is a fighter, he is a winner, and I promise you he will never stop fighting until we make America great again. You know, from the outset, our president reminded me of somebody else, a man who inspired me to actually join the cause of conservatism nearly 40 years ago, President Ronald Reagan. I believe President Trump has given voice to the aspirations and frustrations of the American people like no leader since Reagan. I just knew our new president would reignite our cause and renew it in our own day. And he did just that. President Trump won a historic victory all across the United States of America. Think about it. 30 out of 50 states, including states that no Republican had carried in a generation. President Donald Trump turned the blue wall red. And you know what? The establishment never saw it coming. I mean, the media, the elites, the insiders, everybody else who profits off preserving the status quo, they dismissed our president every step of the way. And in dismissing him, they also dismissed millions of the hard-working, forgotten men and women who make this country great. And worse yet, they're still trying to dismiss him. They're still trying to dismiss all of us. What they should have learned on Election Day is this is not a government of the elites, by the media, or for the establishment. What November 8th showed, even if they didn't listen, is that this is still government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And last November, the American people rose up and demanded a safer America, a more prosperous America, and a great America again. That's why the American people elected Donald Trump as President of the United States of America, and President Donald Trump is already delivering for the American people. So I'm here today because of all of you and because of this conservative movement. And on behalf of the President, from the bottom of my heart, let me say thank you. Thank you for your hard work and your commitment to our cause. But our fight didn't end on November the 8th. We won the day, but make no mistake about it. The harder work, the most important work now lies ahead. The fight goes on. Let me make you a promise. President Trump will fight for you every single day. President Trump is a man of his word, and we're keeping the promises he made to the American people. Over at the White House, I like to say we're in the promise-keeping business these days. You know, when President Trump asked me to chair the transition, he looked at me and just said, "Mike, just get me the best." And how about that, Attorney General Jeff Sessions? Lifetime. And my friends, this is our time. This is the chance we've worked so hard for so long to see. This is a time to prove again that our answers are the right answers for America. A strong military, more jobs, less taxes, respect for the Constitution and the values that have made America great, and a deep and abiding faith in the goodness of the American people. You know, history will attest, every time America produces a leader who builds on this firm foundation, our nation reaches heights that once seemed unreachable. And let me assure you, President Donald Trump is such a leader. And under his leadership, we are making America great again. He's putting America first and putting Americans back to work already. He's rebuilding the military and putting our enemies on notice. He's supporting law enforcement and ending illegal immigration once and for all. He's rolling back big government and slashing through red tape. He's upholding the Constitution, restoring the culture of life, and President Donald Trump is leading the fight to repeal and replace ObamaCare. And let me assure you, America's ObamaCare nightmare is about to end. You know, despite the best efforts of liberal activists at town halls around the country, the American people know better. Obamacare has failed, and Obamacare must go. This failed law is crippling the American economy and crushing the American people. Talk about your fake news, folks. Just look at all the promises liberals made about Obamacare. Remember, they told us the cost of insurance would go down. They told us if you like your doctor, you can keep him. They told us if you like your health plan, you can keep it. And now we all know the truth. Today, Americans are paying $3,000 more a year on average for their health insurance. Last year, premiums skyrocketed by a stunning 25%, and millions have lost their plans and lost their doctors. Higher costs, fewer choices, worse care. That's Obamacare. And if that weren't bad enough, Obamacare is also a job killer, and everybody in America knows it. Well, we're about to change all that. by repealing Obamacare once and for all, eliminating its mandates, its taxes, and its intrusion into your business and into your lives. And best of all, with President Trump's leadership, Obamacare is going to be replaced with something that actually works. Something that's built on freedom and individual responsibility. President Trump and I want every American to have access to quality and affordable health insurance, which is why we're designing a better law that lowers the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government. We're going to let Americans purchase health insurance across state lines, the way you buy your life insurance, the way you buy your car insurance. We're going to make sure that Americans with pre-existing conditions have access to health insurance and the security they need, and we're going to give states the freedom and flexibility to take care of the least fortunate in the best way that'll work in their state and in their community. You know, despite all the fear-mongering from the left, make no mistake about it, we'll have an orderly transition to a better health care system that finally puts the American people first. And after we repeal and replace Obamacare, we're going to do a whole lot more. We're going to start off by rebuilding the American military. We'll restore the arsenal of democracy. We'll provide our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard with the resources and training they need to accomplish their mission and come home safe, and we will hunt down and destroy ISIS at its source so it can no longer threaten our nation or our families. And we're going to get this economy moving again by cutting taxes for working families, small businesses, and family farms. We're going to keep rolling back job-killing regulations, and we're going to rescind unconstitutional executive orders signed by Barack Obama. And under President Trump's leadership, we're going to continue to rein in wasteful government spending and restore fiscal responsibility to Washington, D.C. We'll enact real education reform that gives families more choices. It recognizes that education is a state and local function, and under President Donald Trump, no state will ever be forced to adopt the Common Core. You know, I'm proud to stand with a president who's doing all of this and more. And I'm proud to stand with a president who stands with our most cherished ally, the Jewish state of Israel. Israel's fight is our fight. Her cause is our cause. Her values are our values. And under President Trump, America will stand with Israel. And maybe most of all, I'm grateful and honored to serve with a president who will uphold our Constitution and the sanctity of human life. Because of President Donald Trump, life is winning in America again. Last month, he reinstated the Mexico City policy preventing foreign aid from funding organizations that promote or perform abortions, and we will make the Hyde Amendment permanent American law. And when it comes to the highest court in the land, in Judge Neil Gorsuch, President Trump kept his word. to nominate a new justice to the Supreme Court who will uphold our Constitution and all the God-given liberties enshrined in it in the tradition of the late and great Justice Antonin Scalia. Men and women of the conservative movement, this is our time. And I promise you, the President and I will work our hearts out to make America safe again, to make America prosperous again. But the success of our movement, and more importantly, the success of our country, depends as much on all of you as it does on us. We must, all of us, rise to the challenge before us, tomorrow and every day thereafter. The other side is not sitting idle, and their allies in the media are more than willing to amplify their defense of the failed status quo every single day. Now more than ever, as we did before when this movement won back the Congress in 2010 and won back the White House in 2016, we got to do what we did before. We got to mobilize. We got to march forward as if it's the most important time in the history of our movement, because it is. Men and women of this movement, there is no time like the present. So make your voices heard in town halls, with your family and your friends, on the internet and in social media, and in all those places where common sense, conservative messages are most desperately needed. Because this is our time. From this day forward, to make America great again, President Trump and I need every ounce of your energy and enthusiasm, your conviction, your courage, your passion. And we need one more thing, if you're inclined. We need your prayers. You know, last month I took my oath of office, administered by the great Justice Clarence Thomas. You know, for this grandson of an Irish immigrant, it's hard to describe the privilege. But I and my family felt that day. I put my left hand on a Bible that was actually used by the 40th President of the United States back in January of 1981. But what was uncanny about that moment is I opened that Bible to the verse that he had it open to on that day. And it happened to be the very same verse that I most often quoted as I campaigned across this country on behalf of our new president. In days ahead, as we work and as we labor, as we advance this cause to restore our country, we, I think, would do well to remember those ancient words. But if his people, who are called by his name, will humble themselves and pray, he'll do like he's always done. He'll hear from heaven, and he'll heal this land, this one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So reflecting on those timeless truths and the work that we have to do, my fellow Americans, it's time. But I'm confident. I'm confident with your help and with God's help. And with President Donald Trump in the White House, I know the best days for America are yet to come. Let's get to work. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless you.